Tonight, we meet a soul whose story is painted in shades of grey, a man celebrated as a hero and condemned as a villain. He wielded the power to shape the lives of millions and used it with a mixture of benevolence and greed. This is Thomas Carrington, a politician who transformed his city. He championed education, reduced poverty, and revitalized his city's economy. Yet, his hands were not clean. He embezzled millions to fund a life of opulence, betraying the trust of the very people he vowed to serve. Now, we must determine his fate. Listen closely and decide if his virtues outweigh his sins.
So, this is the end then? I always wondered how my life would be judged. Funny, I imagined it happening in a courtroom, not wherever this is. Still, if you'll listen, let me tell you my story. I wasn't born into wealth. My father worked long hours in the mines. My mother made dresses for pennies. They taught me the value of hard work, but they also taught me the bitterness of poverty. I swore I'd escape it, not just for myself, but for people like us. When I entered politics, I had a vision, a nation where no child would go hungry, where education was a right and not a privilege, where people could rise above their circumstances. And I made that vision a reality. Well, maybe not, but I did improve the lives of the people who lived in my city. I expanded pre-K education to every school. I opened up homeless shelters and food pantries. I invested heavily in infrastructure. Under my leadership, poverty in my city dropped to its lowest levels in decades. Crime dropped. Entire generations had opportunities their parents could never dream of. But dreams aren't free. To bring about change, I needed power, and power requires money. Campaigns, allies, influence, it all comes at a cost. I made deals with whoever was willing to pay my price. As long as it didn't hurt my city, I didn't care who else had to pay the price. And yes, I took what wasn't mine. I siphoned funds meant for the public into my own accounts, built mansions, traveled in private jets, surrounded myself with luxury. I told myself it was the price of progress, that without those indulgences, I couldn't keep the machine running. And I paid another price. I left the woman I loved because she didn't fit the image my advisors insisted I needed. Instead, I married someone who was a perfect political match. It was a loveless union from the start, one built on convenience and appearances. We both cheated, of course. That's what happens when two people pretend to be something they're not. The only time we shared a bed was when we decided it was time to have a child. Our son. I barely knew him. Politics consumed me, and he was just another part of the image we crafted. I regret that. He deserved a father, but all he got was a name and a legacy. And yet, I still think about the things I accomplished. The children who could finally go to school, the families who moved out of slums, the streets that became safer under my watch. Do those lives weigh against my sins? Or is it too little, too late? Was I selfish? Absolutely. But I also gave more than I took. At least that's what I'd like to believe. In the end, I'm just a man, flawed and imperfect. I played the game the way it's meant to be played, even if I bent the rules. So here I am, at your mercy. What will it be?
You've heard his story. Thomas Carrington, the savior of a nation and a thief of its trust. He brought light to countless lives, but cast shadows over his own. Was his corruption a necessary evil, or does it taint every good deed he accomplished? Should he find peace, face punishment, or linger in purgatory to reckon with his contradictions? Tell me, what is your judgment?